Hey, greetings everybody. Welcome into the DFS Minute brought to you by DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy sports. The link's down in the comments section. Of course, coupon code CHOP triggers 20% off each month. You can follow me out on Twitter. Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. You know all of the stuff that I tell you every single time. Let's dive in to Contrarian Day NHL. This was going to go to just the VIPs today, but I decided, what the heck, let's open it up to the public because sometimes I'm a chalk eater and sometimes really like to take stands, but on bigger slates where ownership gets really spread out, doesn't really mean much, that's one thing. But on shorter slates in a volatile sport like hockey, it really, really pays to be contrarian. So that means that this isn't going to work most of the time. But when it does work, you should find yourself relatively alone. And there's a lot more leverage on a shorter slate because there's generally a lot more concentrated ownership on a shorter slate because the obvious plays are kind of the obvious plays. People that follow what I preach all the time too, which is high implied team totals. Well, today, let's take the underdogs. Why? Hockey's weird, man. Hockey has weird ways of doing funny things. So what I focused on today, instead of the 3.6 ITT and the minus 200, which is a pretty big favorite for Colorado, I focused on Buffalo. I mean, sure, I'm going to take some Colorado guys like McKinnon and whatever else, but I'm stacking these guys out of Buffalo. I come down here to Edmonton and Vegas 3.9 ITT with a high minus 195. So instead of stacking Vegas, I did some pairs of Vegas, but I stacked Edmonton. And then I came down here and showed the LA Kings at a decent underdog. See, there's some pretty heavy favorites. A road favorite way out west in Pittsburgh is really, really interesting. 3.5. This is maybe the most likely game to kind of fall flat, or maybe LA picks up the upset. So I put a couple of stacks of LA out there with a couple of things that I did like, and this is another opportunity to get a little bit off the beaten path. And I mean, this isn't very far off the beaten path, but the only ones that I liked here were Sid Crosby, pardon the door closing, Sid Crosby, and then Hornquist down here at the bottom. So I paired them together some, or hoped to. If I get one-offs of each, that's fine. And so that's really all I looked at today. And that gets me far enough off the herd that I should have a successful night if I stack the right guys and they do something. And if I'm paired with some of the chalkier stuff, it kind of holds me even with the stud, but it gets me unique builds. Unique builds, more importantly, unique builds with a chance at actually working out. It's not like I picked Detroit on a 12-game slate. That works out. That's lightning striking. This works out often enough because the chalk fails in hockey more often than any other sport. Here's how I set up our domination station tool today. We've got 3 games, obviously FanDuel, NHL, or DraftKings if you want to do that. I went through and I collected all of the positions that I wanted. And I went through here and I didn't just adore them. I wanted to see what that would take their fantasy point per dollar to. And to confuse the optimizer today, I set everyone that I liked at around 2.5x. There are a couple that are a little bit bigger than that. Murray's going to be a goalie in a lot of cases. I probably need to tamp that down, but I did that with 40% exposure, so I'm going to get at least 3 goalies tonight. Down here, 2.5. So you can see the guys that I don't like necessarily versus the guys that I do like. If they're 2.4, 2.5, I like them. So let's walk through really quickly, and I'll show you some of the situations. At center, McDavid, Crosby, McKinnon, I juiced their projections up so they pull in as one-offs. Eichel, of course, I like Buffalo tonight. Kopitar, Nugent Hopkins a little bit less, but kind of the similar. Stastny, if I really wanted to, I could get him up a little bit higher to like a 12.5. Watch, it'll take his 2.3 and then make it like a 2.4. So if I wanted to make him a 13, I can make him more of a 2.5 and then leave it at that. So see, this is how I'm adjusting these numbers to get them in here. I don't want any, I missed this one. So I'm going to jack him way down and screw his fantasy points per dollar way down, both of them. Don't want them. Hopefully they're not in my builds because I kind of like the lineup mixes that I'm getting when I went through first glance. I did this for every single position, wings, defensemen. I didn't do goalies. I'm not touching goalies that much because frankly, I don't care. Whatever fits into these stacks is great. So I've got 3 stacks on the main side: Buffalo, Edmonton, LA, underdogs, boom, done. 40%, 40%, less chance, probably 20% at being in the dominant stack. But I want these 3 guys, these 3 of these 4, 3 of these guys, 3 of these guys, and it's pretty much the way I'm rolling. So 20% of my stacks are going to be all LA in these 3, no other combination possible. But I can mix and match some of these guys. They've all got the same value, remember? They're kind of around that 2.5, 2.6x mark. So the optimizer is going to view them very, very equally, and it should mix and match them a little bit into my builds, mostly based on some salary and what it's doing for one-offs and what it's doing for other stuff. I did take a couple of punt plays, like a Kyle Okposo in Buffalo, and of course Hornquist and Sidney Crosby and McKinnon and whatever, and took some of those one-offs and threw their projections through the roof. So it tends to Michael or Martin Frick or whatever his name is another one. I didn't include him in a stack, but I definitely included him as a one-off potentially because I want some of these guys, these value guys. Hornquist and Sidney are not values, but I wanted some of these other value guys to pop in as one-offs that would clear the room for the one-off that I chose and then leave the salary over there for the mixing and matching of the stacks. If that's making sense to you, this is kind of how you can use this tool and sort of use the tool against itself. And what I'm doing, instead of going straight projections tonight, is I'm jerking with the projections to get an opposite, a contrarian build on a short slate in NHL where it's more likely to go off and more likely to pay off. Now, on the pair side, Buffalo 20%, Vegas, I've got two Vegas stacks in here. One with line 1 mostly, one with line 2 mostly, 15% each. Edmonton, LA, again, these three guys, 2 of the 3. If I took 3 of these, I want 2 of these, whatever. I don't mind double stacking the underdogs. I also don't mind putting in some of the favorites here as well. The only one I'm really not that high on, I didn't find a lot in Colorado that I liked. It's running hot. I didn't find a lot in Pittsburgh out west that I liked, so I kind of just went, let's just make it an underdog kind of night. And a second Edmonton stack with the second line of Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, Archibald, whatever. And so when I hit optimize, I toned down the randomization on a smaller slate. And because I really, really jerked with the projections and I want my guys in there primarily, toned down the unique players a little bit with only 3. And I'm going to build 30 lineups and see where it sticks me. And if I like them, I might go to 50, 60 lineups. I don't know. So when I come down here and I start scrolling through my lineups, I've got Eichel, Okposo's the one-off, and Montour. So you're like, well, that's only, they don't correlate that well. Well, they actually do because Montour's a defenseman and Eichel is there, and that's the pair. Okposo's the one-off. Remember, he's not in my stacks. And then my stack is McDavid, Anastasio, whatever. I call him Anastasia. I get confused with the Disney movie Anastasia, and so I call him Anastasia. I know it's wrong, but it is what it is. And Darnell Nurse. So there's 3 that correlate really well with a one-off of Hornquist, who's on line 3, who most people won't be using outside of a power play 1 stack, and Pacioretty. I mean, come on. Scroll down a little bit more. Nathan McKinnon as a one-off. McDavid, Anastasio again, Nurse, and then Okposo, and he's the one-off. Who else? Riley Smith and Theodore are my pair, with Horny as the one-off again. Okay, so it switched a little bit. Velarde, I don't like it. Frick, but being that they're correlated, I'd probably leave it actually. Nathan McKinnon is the one, Hornquist again, and now Stone, Theodore, Darnell Nurse, and Draisaitl. Boom, 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 done. Okay, still correlated. Eichel correlated with Olofsson and Ristolainen. Fine. Oposo's the one-off. It threw in some Donskoy and McKinnon as 2 separate one-offs. I don't know how much I like that. I might not like that when it all comes down to it. McKinnon, McDavid, big centers, and then Rust, that came in randomly, but he correlates with Hornquist. Apparently, I don't think that he does. I think that that data is wrong. Reinert, Montour as a pair, Nurse, Anastasio, McDavid as a trifecta stack, and we probably would let that one go. On 3-game slates, man, anything is possible. Eichel, then a lot of Okposo, Stone and Theodore, Nurse, Anastasio, McDavid. So when we get down here a little bit farther, we'll start seeing, here's the LA stacks popping in. Kopitar, Frick's the one-off. Kempe, so that's a pair with McDavid, Draisaitl, Bear, and Nurse. That's interesting because there's a one-off in there somewhere as well that pulled in. Crosby, one-off. McDavid, Ennis, line 2, supposedly, but they're up on line 1. Anastasio, Okposo's the one-off again. Stone, Theodore's the pair with Montour, sort of overlapping with you. I like that lineup. It has a chance, but you can see how different these lineups are, and I like them. I like them all. Why? Hockey's random. Hockey can do anything in a given night. That's why it's so hard to coach when you hand me a specific lineup and say, "What do you think?" I don't fucking know, man. All I know is it fundamentally sound? Is it correlated? Does it look pretty good? Are you targeting good offenses? Are your targets within those offenses making sense? If that's the case, I'm going to like it. Don't expect me to know who's going to have the better night, Eichel or McDavid tonight, because I don't. It's hockey. They can both get a 0. They can both get 50. I have no flipping idea. So when you ask those questions of what do you think about this lineup, I'm really just checking for the fundamentals. I don't care about anything else because it's as crazy as anything I could come up with, and they're both probably still wrong. Because even on a 3-game slate, some line 4 out of somewhere may have the winning stack on it. It's hockey, it's a short slate. We don't have any choices tonight, so something really, really weird and random in a 30,000 person GPP is going to win it. Get over it. It happens. It's daily fantasy sports. Rant over. Anywho, as long as you're staying correlated again, there's my 3 Vegas guys. There's a couple, well, actually 3 relatively correlated Edmonton guys with a one-off in Eichel. Kind of like it. So, I mean, just mixing and matching and mixing and matching. Landeskog pulled in randomly. That's really odd because I didn't boost his projections. But as long as the rest of the lineup around him looks okay, there should be line 2 in Hopkins, Bear. That's who I had in my second grouping. Hornquist is fine as a one-off. Ristolainen, Reinert, Eichel, one-off Anastasio, I guess, in there with Bear and Nugent Hopkins all kind of ties together, although these two won't see ice time together. It's okay, and it can happen tonight. No sweat. LA stack, again, it's a pair with the one-off in Frick or Furk or whatever you pronounce his name. Anastasia McDavid are correlated again with Nurse, Pacioretty, and Theodore Bang. So this is just, I'm going to go through and police these lineups a little bit, make sure that they make Donskoy's or Rando. It's going to at least mostly make sense, and then I'm going to probably just roll it out. If not, I'll rerun this, see if something else happens, and then I'll go back between run 1 and run 2. I may throw both of them in there. I may change these numbers up on the second run and throw in more chalk tonight because I've got a lot of contrarian type stuff. Who knows? That is up to you. How bad do you want to hang your balls out there? How much do you really, really want to go for the gusto? And how okay are you with it being wrong? Because really and truly, if you're risk averse and you're a little bit of scared money, you're probably running to the chalk a little bit more because there's safety in groupthink. There's safety in, well, everybody kind of thinks the same, so maybe they see something that I don't really see. And, maybe if that's you, we need to start working on getting outside of your comfort zone because you need to see a slate like tonight and go big time favorites. Somebody ain't going to come through, and I want to be there when they don't. I don't know which one it's going to be. Is it going to be Edmonton or LA or who's the other one? Buffalo? But somebody's probably going to perform fairly well. Some stack somewhere is probably going to net 2 goals, and nobody's going to be on it tonight because everybody's going to probably be on the high implied team totals. Now, again, it also depends on what the other side of your stack is. You got to hit both sides of those stacks or those pairs or whatever for it really to be a good night. But at least if I hit that one kind of contrarian underdog type stack, I'm set up really, really well. So by running out of 30 stacks, what's this? 12, 12 24. And another 6 is 30. So out of those combinations, I've got 12 Buffalo stacks rolling out that are Buffalo, Vegas, Buffalo, Edmonton, Buffalo, LA, Buffalo, whatever, right? I've got 12 of those stacks running out. I got 12 of these stacks running out. If Buffalo scores 4 goals tonight, and these guys that are typically doing the production end up doing the producing, then I'm set up really, really well. And all it matters, I should have lower ownership on it. All that matters is the ancillary pieces. If I hit one of those, I can send one deep into a GPP, and that's all I care about. And it's easier to do on short slates than it is big slates because on big slates, the ownership gets spread out, and you got 8 teams that make a ton of sense. It doesn't make much sense to take a flyer on a major underdog when 8 other monster teams make sense. So when you're being contrarian, you got to be contrarian with your head. You can't be contrarian with your heart. Okay, if this is the type of coaching you like, this is the type of coaching you need, you want to learn how to set up the tools, you want to learn how to get off the herd, you need our coaching at dfsarmy.com. Get your butt in here and get to learn it. We do it for basketball, we do it for NASCAR, we do it for PGA, we do it for hockey, we do it for baseball, we do it for everything. I've got a big tip for some VIPs come about mid-April once baseball gets rolling, something I've been sitting on for about 2 years. that I forgot to do last year, and it ticked me off because it would have worked, and I forgot until, May or June when it was over. Early season tip. So if that type of stuff interests you, you need to get yourself in here and get the coaching. Code CHOP, CHOP, triggers the discount, and the rest of us are all going to go win tonight. I don't want to see you sitting on the sidelines anymore. You need to get all of the tools, all of the coaching, every single sport we offer for one flipping price. Don't outsource your optimizer. Don't outsource your coaching to other, don't pay by the sport. None of that junk. It doesn't work. We have the best value in the DFS industry, and I hope you take advantage of it. Come and see us tonight. We'll see you later.